I can honestly say, Jaws, and I'm not trying to sound like a clown with this, but like there are times during the Eagles games when they have the ball. When they have the ball, which should be the most exciting time to watch the Eagles. The Eagles can score at any moment on a play because they have the ball. I'd rather watch 3 minutes of Animal House than a 3 and out. Now, maybe that makes me a clown, but that's how I feel, Jaws. So talk to us here.
I don't feel that way, Joe. I feel more analytical when I watch this offense because there's incredible talent. It's mind-boggling that they cannot be more productive. It's a head-scratcher like everyone else is watching a game and feeling probably the same way I do. Why can't we sustain offense? Why can't we get explosive plays? We have incredible talent. We've got arguably one of the best offensive lines in football. Dinged up a little bit now. Lane's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. But, the tight end position is strong. Wide receivers are excellent. The running game is there. Why are we struggling? It's a head-scratcher to me because there's enough talent where this team should be more explosive.
Well, Jaws, all right, let's get to this because I found this stat yesterday. I did not know this. Unbelievable. We've talked a lot this year about how they're the worst in football at third downs. And one of the things that speaks to it, this is unbelievable. They enter third down with, on average, averaging third and 7.92 yards per play. That's last in football. What in the hell, Jaws, on first and second down is going so wrong that leads to that?
Well, obviously too many negative plays. And
right.
It's the kryptonite. You get in those long yardage situations. And for years, when I was doing the NFL matchup show, I used to break third down. I always call it the money down. That's where you earn your money in the National Football League on third down. But you got to stay on schedule to get the third down. That stat you just gave out is an alarming stat because that means you're not productive on first and second down. And also you start seeing nickel and dime defense. I don't care who your receivers are, who your offensive line is. It's hard to convert on third and 8+. Let's put it that way. So I think they must do a much better job of managing first and second down to get to that third and manageable situation.
Jaws, Jalen has had so much success, Super Bowl MVP, won the Super Bowl, being cautious. He's just ultra cautious. At times, it must be infuriating to his teammates when he, doesn't try to give him that 50-50 ball in the end zone. Instead he'll tuck it away or throw it away or whatever that may be. How do you lessen a Super Bowl MVP quarterback's caution?
Well, I can't speak for Jalen, but I can give you my opinion anyway for that what that is worth. He's a winning quarterback, and he wins. And we can argue about that all we want. You don't want to. You want numbers. There are numbers quarterbacks, and they're not winners. Jalen Hurts is a flat-out winner, and that's all he cares about, and I love that part of his persona. He wants to win. He doesn't care if he wins it, the wide receivers win it, the running backs get it, but he just wants to win. That, to me, is the most important part of Jalen Hurts' game. Now, would I like to see him maybe throw more of those 50-50 balls, test himself a little bit more? Yes, but I'm not Jalen Hurts, and he knows we're winning. Also, he gets in the game, he's going to throw 3 picks, and we're going to be all over his butt for throwing 3 interceptions and forcing the ball into coverage and that sort of thing, and receivers don't come up to play. So I could ramble on and on about that, but I won't. But he's a guy that's very calculated. Yeah. He knows he's got a great defense right now. He can play to that defense. The defense is playing phenomenal football. So don't turn the football over, and we're likely to win football games. So I can understand his position. He's thrown 1 interception this year. 1 interception. That's remarkable. Who do you want? Jared Goff out there throwing for you? No, you don't. Because you know one thing with Jalen Hurts, he will protect the football.
Charles,
how concerned are you about the discrepancy between the offense and the defense?
In what way, John? What do you mean by discrepancy?
Well, it's like the defense is pulling all the weight, and this is sort of what AJ was talking about last week when he was saying he wants to pull his weight too, offensively speaking. There's a discrepancy in terms of the perceived work that the defense is doing compared to what the offense is doing in the eyes of the fans and the eyes of the players even.
Well, to me that's a selfish approach. Football is the consummate team game. There's no I in team. I know some people say there's an M and an E, but it's the consummate team game, and winning is the ultimate goal. I've just never, 17 years, I've never been around coaches that didn't. You played for enough coaches as well, John. It's about winning the football game, and we all know there's ego involved, there's money involved, there's contracts involved, there's longevity involved. but it's about winning football games. I think that's the most important thing. If guys want to sour on winning, then you got to get them off the team. And if they want to get mouthy about winning, they got to be off the team because this team is winning. And this team is a dynasty in the midst of a dynasty right now. And the only way you could break a dynasty down is from within. And I don't want to see that happen. Just keep winning. I don't care who gets the credit.
Charles, one more thing on Jalen, and then we'll get to the defense. But I'm curious how you size this up. You mentioned the term ego earlier. So you've been around a lot of quarterbacks. You were a quarterback. When a quarterback has had accomplishment, and you've been friends with a lot of these guys, Montana comes to your annual party at the Super Bowl. When players have accomplishment and ego builds, but they still need to be coached, how does let me see how I can frame this. How difficult is it for a coaching staff to lead a quarterback to more development when a quarterback feels a sense of accomplishment and maybe ego has increased? And do you feel that has set in with Jalen here in Philadelphia?
I don't think it has set in with him, but I think it's possible, and I think that's where coaching comes in. And, I played for coaches in the NFL in my 17-year career that won just under 1,000 games. I'll say it again, under 1,000 games winning. So they were great coaches, and played with guys like Roman Gabriel and Dan Marino and Steve DeBerg and guys like that along with myself. And you still have, no matter who you are, no matter how successful you are, you still must be coached hard. And you guys have Vermeil on this network, I think, every Friday morning. Dick will tell you, he coached everybody hard. He had a Hall of Famer, Kurt Warner. He had Eagles Hall of Famer myself. He had Roman Gabriel. He had all kinds of, upper echelon players, and he coached hard. He didn't care how many touchdown passes you threw on Sunday. He was going to coach you hard the next week. I'm not at the Eagles facility on a daily basis. I don't know how hard Jalen is, how hard he's coached. But the minute you stop coaching hard is the minute you have regression.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I'll use Favre as an example. I thought when Holmgren was there on his ass, that was the best Brett Favre. And then when Holmgren was gone, while Favre was still great, he wasn't as good. John, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you this. So when you guys get talk to Vermeil, he'll tell you how hard he coaches. Man, I'm still hearing him chewing my butt out.
Could you explain what you saw on the deep ball down the near sideline where it looked like AJ slowed up or stopped running on that play? Do you know the play I'm talking about, John?
There's been a few of those plays this year, but John, I really find it hard to be critical of ball placement with that wind the way it was on Sunday night.
See, that's the way I feel about it too. Okay,
I hated playing a wind like that because you just couldn't control the ball. And I think when wide receivers track the ball, they pick it up rather as soon as their head gets turned around, they pick up the ball. And it wasn't. I don't think there was a lack of effort. I think the wind just moved the ball so much they were uncatchable balls. And so obviously, if you're not going to catch it, if it's not on target. You're going to kind of let up a little bit. At least that's the perception. It looks like he let up, but I don't think that was the case.
Okay, this is a huge factor to me, and this is something that I was talking about yesterday. I think it's going to be completely glossed over, overlooked entirely. The wind played a huge factor in this game. It's not just difficult for the quarterback. It's difficult for us, the receiver, too. I used to hate it, Jaws, as a fullback. I hated it. I mean, I would catch like 2 balls in a game, but I hated even warming up if it was windy like it gets and swirly in this stadium because that ball, it's coming in on a trajectory and then all of a sudden, whoosh! How are you supposed to catch that?
It's hard to track a ball because the ball is always moving when you get wind like that. That wind
and no rhyme or reason to it.
It was a horrific wind on that game. You didn't know where the ball was going.
Yeah,
it was the old for the younger audience. It was your listeners. It was Candlestick Park when Candlestick Park was in the Bay in San Francisco. You had no idea where that ball was going once it left your hand. The Meadowlands when they would open that tunnel down to the end zone, you had no idea where that ball was going when it left your hand. So if you're a receiver, it's hard to track that kind of ball flight.
No question.
Jones, one more on the defense. So I got a theory
that the good stuff, Joe.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of Howie's greatest accomplishments ever, and that's saying something because I think he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. But given what they lost on defense and the clear step back that they took early in the year because of that, to sort of rebuild it on the fly, and some of it, of course, is young players that he drafted in prior years under rookie contracts that gives them an advantage, like Jalen Carter and Quinyon and Cooper DeJean and Nolan Smith. But To rebuild this on the fly in the middle of a year and now maybe be back to the level of last year, I think it's one of his greatest accomplishments. Do you agree with that?
Well, he is going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about that in my mind. How he's done that good of a job as the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, I think he's piecemealed this together. He's got a great defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio, who knows how to coach people, who knows how to discipline people, and knows how to structure a defense. And when I see the rotation back right now, when you see Jalen Hunt and Moro Jomo, those guys playing the way they're playing right now, they're getting 35, 40 snaps. So the guys are fresh. When you got that rotation back, that's where Jalen Phillips came in and increased that rotation. You got guys that are fresh. They come into the game and they are chomping at the bit because they know they're only going to get 30, 35, maybe if they're lucky, 40 snaps in the game. So that rotation is now there. But Vic Fangio has always been for 40 years. I mean, I know, Joe, you may remember when he was with the Philadelphia Stars of the USFL.
Yeah.
I see it. We used to practice at the vet together. I got to know Vic and all those guys, and he's been a tremendous coach for 40 years now. But you see the rotation that he uses, that's the key. He keeps guys fresh.